A couple of things we do need to talk about before we get into the upping and the downing. One, make sure you go and watch the AEW Puppy Battle Royale, especially if today you're feeling a little bit sad. Like, it is probably the cutest thing I have ever seen in my entire life, and I don't have a problem in saying that. And also, too, just to get you a little bit excited and throw a little teeny spoiler out there, you are about to experience, within this episode, a Golden Up. But my name is Simon Miller. What a flipping brilliant night it was for Wednesday Night Wrestling. I don't even care, man. Give it all to me. Let it flush over my face. But let's up those downs for AEW Fyter Fest night number 2. I love tag team wrestling. I mean, it sells itself, because if we are going to take one-on-one wrestling as the norm, what a great way to spice things up, because you've now thrown extra people in there. Unfortunately, some other companies, I don't mean anyone specifically, but some other companies just do not embrace it like All Elite Wrestling does, and when they do, it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. And I am, of course, talking about our tag team champions, Kenny Omega and Hangman Paige, taking on Private Party. And look, let's keep it simple. It was just great. And every time I see Private Party, they get better. It's what you want in the business. Give it up. The coolest thing with it all at the moment, too, is the one and only Kenny Omega, because there were just so many subtle hints, or blatant hints if you watch this week's BTE, that maybe he's going back to his old New Japan character. And if we do that, it probably means eventually he'll lose the tag team championship and start making his way up the ladder. And then everybody can stop moaning on Twitter and Reddit, they're not doing the right thing with Kenny Omega. The man is brilliant. The pace of this was just mad instantly as Kenny Omega and Mark Quinn kicked things off. And if you also want to know how fast this escalated, before long, Private Party were doing a double Spanish fly. A double Spanish fly. Somebody eat me. The tag klaxon eventually sounded, and you know that noise, it goes, bah, but only the wrestlers in the ring can hear it, because they all just then ran into the squared circle and started brawling. And then we saw a moonsault from the top of the turnbuckle to the outside. Just take a minute and think how dangerous that is. I know everything kind of gets watered down now because we see moves like this all the time, but that, my friends, is crazy. There was also this badass near fall where Quen hit a shooting star press onto Hangman Page, and Kenny Omega broke it up at like 2.999999. I mean, if I had blinked and he hadn't have made it, we would have had new champions. Omega and Page eventually did block Gin and Juice, and they were able to hit the last call in order to keep hold of their belt, and the commentators did a great job throughout all of this by going, well, we don't know how long the relationship between Omega and Page is gonna last. Don't forget last week when they were arguing over alcohol. So this had everything. Like I say, it was fast paced, it was hard hitting, and you had narrative. I just laid there like this going, man, I love all kinds of wrestling, I love AEW, and yeah, it made me feel like a positive beat instead of a negative Nancy. It was then Lance Archer versus Joey Janela, and look, it rocked. It really did. But if I hadn't told you the stipulations beforehand, you probably would have assumed it was a no DQ match, because referees in AEW are idiots. But up. It started amazingly too, because that crazy ass Lance Archer came out holding Sonny Kiss and just lobbed Sonny at Joey Janela, and this was just awesome on multiple levels. Firstly, it looked ridiculous, and I always like things looking ridiculous. Two, within the world of kayfabe, it meant that Lance Archer and Jake Roberts had beaten up Sonny Kiss to the point he was able to pick him up and use him as a, projectile. And three, out of kayfabe, you have to imagine backstage before they walk down the tunnel aisle thing, they're like, oh, up you go, let's walk out. I love it all. And this was so brutal too that after about 3 minutes, Joey Janela had visible marks on his back, and I think he kind of realized he was in trouble because he went to the outside and he tried to use tables and he tried to use chairs. Thankfully, the referee actually did observe this one and stop it, but Archer then started to whoop him so bad, well, he probably did actually need to get one of those weapons. Jake Roberts then totally screwed up, and you know that he's going to get a telling off later because he distracted the referee. It's like the old Shane McMahon thing, but to be fair to the ref, Jake Roberts was using his snake, and if anyone threatened me with a snake, I would stand there and go, you know what, man, I'll do whatever you want. I'm so sorry. Anyway, the reason he screwed up is because this didn't help Lance Archer at all, and instead Sonny Kiss was like, you want to throw me as if I'm nothing? Well, now I'll throw you. But he didn't do that, and they hit a 450, and then Joey Janela almost got the win, and I was like, no way. The key word there is almost. Because Archer hit the blackout through the table that Joey Janela had set up earlier, and that was absolutely nuts. But the referee just watched this, and I get confused. Do I not understand the rules? Is it me? Am I the problem here? Now, obviously, Lance Archer just rolled him back in the ring and got the 1, 2, 3, as he should have done. But it did leave me very perplexed. But like I say, this match was pretty damn awesome. Simply because Joey Janela is an absolute bonkers human being, and Lance Archer is just such a good monster, or should I say, murder hawk. I also do think it's just a teeny little, tiny little bit of a shame that we have put together Joey Janela and Sonny Kiss, and now they just lose or get beaten up all the time. But I still think there's a future there, and all of this was just a barrel of fun. Or a boff. Barrel of fun. A little bit of housekeeping too, because Britt Baker continued to pass notes to Shoni Shivani throughout all of this, including saying, look Tony, you need to tell the pyro guy to keep that down because the flames almost gave me 3rd-degree burns. She is just the best, and we were also told that Cody is going to be on an episode of Hot Wings coming up. I like that show. It's just dudes eating hot wings, but there's something about it. I wouldn't even last one wing. I cannot handle the spice. We also had a Darby Allin video, and damn it, he is going to be gunning for Brian Cage when he returns, because he hasn't forgotten about everything that went down at Double or Nothing. Now that sounds absolutely, well, it kind of sounds suicidal if you ask me, but Darby, he is nuts, hence why he did a big coffin drop. I guess when he does return, he's going to try and beat up Brian Cage. Imagine that visual. Throughout the day too, AEW had teased a massive announcement from Tazz, and while I racked my brain, I just couldn't figure out what it could be. I mean, maybe he was finally going to endorse the color orange, or maybe he was going to pick a brand new color. Maybe purple was going to be his thing. Instead, in such a good nod to fans of the past and to get your nostalgia glands working, Tazz brought back the FTW Championship, and if you're an old school ECW fan, you know what I'm talking about. I also can't tell you what that stands for, but know that it does not stand for Fiddle the Weeds. It does not stand for that at all. In fact, it's very rude. Tazz said that no promotion in history has ever acknowledged this belt, but everybody knows whoever does hold it is one badass son of a bitch, and that's why he's awarding it to Brian Cage, who I now guess is the world's best, biggest, toughest son of a bitch. That's why next week not only is Cage going to be able to hold this title, but he'll also beat Jon Moxley and hold that one as well. And let's just be honest here, Tazz is brilliant. I can't even remember him being this good a promo, but clearly he is. And Brian Cage just standing there like, look at my lats, I'm such a jacked up dude. Well, it just works, and I know, oh, they're just a budget Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. Who cares? Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar, they are brilliant. These two are brilliant. I love the story, and I genuinely can't figure out what's going to happen next week in that main event. Are they going to have Brian Cage win? I don't think so, but I am unsure. What's that, my friend? Oh, it's Get It Up. And then, you lovely people out there in YouTube land, we did indeed get to FTR, who were teaming up with the Young Bucks to take on the Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Bros. And I know, some people don't like this style of match. They think it's really, really stupid and it's not what wrestling should be. But look, if you think that and you're still watching AEW, I don't mean to be mean, but you are now the problem. Because this was so damn fun, this was so damn good, and kind of took me on a roller coaster ride, even though my ass was just sat there on a sofa. It doesn't just get the up, that's right, here's the tease from earlier, it's getting the damn golden up. And I don't even know how to recap this. I think the reason it was so awesome is because you had two teams that wanted to fly around like tennis balls, whereas the other two teams, where they were a bit more traditional and a bit more grounded, but that just worked so well. And some of the spots they come up with here, I don't even know where they came from. They probably fell asleep and dreamed them and went, oh, I had a dream, and then they just made it happen. You couldn't take your eyes off it because you would have missed something, and the one spot obviously we need to go into is what happened towards the end of the match, because like Pentagon was on the floor bending over, and Phoenix was running towards the rope where Nick Jackson was, and Phoenix then jumped off Pentagon's back, also jumped off the second rope, and gave a Canadian destroyer to Nick Jackson into everybody else who was in the match who was stood outside. And it is rare to be able to say, I don't think I've ever seen that in wrestling, think about all the things we've seen on wrestling. People piss on each other, people get thrown off of high structures, people get set on fire, but I don't think I've ever seen this in wrestling. And sure, there's the naysayers, there's the cynics go, well, I could see it coming a mile off. Well, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to try something clever there. I'm not even going to bother. I don't care. This was like awesome fun in a jar that you open up, and it smacks you right in the nose. And it also seemed obvious that the finish was going to involve some kind of fracas between FTR and the Young Bucks, and that's exactly what happened, because Matt Jackson kicked Harwood right in the jaw, and that made him go, oh no. He turned around, the Lucha Brothers gave him the LB driver, which is pretty badass, I have to say, and they indeed got the upset win. I was kind of surprised, as was Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone especially, he couldn't believe it. This was truly ridiculous, even more so that it was on free TV, and here's a little bit of advice for you if you want it. If not, you can ignore it. Take your cynicism, throw it out the window, go and sit down and watch this, and I promise you, you will just feel great about the wrestling world we live in. This was Fabu. AEW then leveled up to some stupid kind of level because we saw a couple of smart dudes go up to Big Swole and they served her with papers, and in these legal documents it said, Big Swole, you are being suspended from All Elite Wrestling because you kidnapped Britt Baker and you threw her in the trash. And yeah, that makes sense. I can't remember the last time a wrestling show had this kind of conclusion for this kind of an angle, because we're so predisposed to just see these things happening and go, well, yeah, it's just professional wrestling, you can get away with that, but you can't get away with that here. You can't kidnap people, you can't throw them in the garbage, and now Big Swole, she's been made to suffer. But it was funny, it was logical, and kind of shows that there's more laws and rules in AEW outside the ring than there is in the ring, but I don't care. I'm giving it a round of applause. What does this mean? A bald asshole applauding no one. There's no one here, but I just think it deserves it. Right, straight up, I like Nyla Rose. I think she improves every single week, and she's just got this monster gimmick and character down. I totally believe that she could run roughshod through the women's division and nobody can stop her. But I flubbed up here. I made a mistake because AEW had gone, oh my gosh, Nyla Rose is going to be in action next week. Who's it going to be? I was like, oh my gosh, who is it going to be? And I got my expectation levels too high. So when it was just her ruining a couple of wrestlers in a quick squash match, I was like, oh, okay, well, I enjoyed it. Like, it's fun to watch on TV, but I thought it was going to be something I was going to run on Twitter and go, bah, oh my gosh. So it is going to get it down, but I think we need to caveat it with something, because this is on me. Give it a dumb, stupid, moron Simon down. There you go, brand new down here on Ups and Downs. The dumb, stupid, moron, idiotic, bald asshole Simon down. It really, really upset me. However, there was some instant intrigue here after the fact, because when Nyla Rose had done away with these people, she made a very clear observation. She'd been looking around the AEW roster, and everybody that's got a championship, or everybody that gets a title shot, mostly, has a manager, therefore she will now go out there and get a manager. And we have no idea who this is going to be at the moment, but look at the AEW landscape, they're all legend. You've got Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Jake the Snake Roberts. So who's she going to get? Maybe it's Medusa, maybe it's somebody like Awesome Kong, maybe she makes a return. Maybe it's even Vicky Guerrero. I bet that would divide people down the middle, but you just don't know. Nyla also looked at Shida and said, you better hold on to that title, because soon I'm going to rip it from your body. And her love stories like this, you can let them play out. I'll always be intrigued and invested to see where it's going to go. So it was a nice ending to a match that, again, I ruined for myself by being a jackass. We then saw Colt Cabana in the back being treated for a hematoma that was more swollen and big than my head. Apparently this was legit too. He had bruising all down the sides of his body, and it made me feel a little bit oogly boogly. So it wasn't an angle or anything, although All Elite Wrestling did use it, because Brody Lee walked in, he sent the doctor away, and he was like, Colt, this is terrible. These things shouldn't happen to you, and you know how it will never happen again. Sign up for the Dark Order properly, and I will take care of you, my son. I will take care of you, my child. No one will ever touch a hair on your head again. They then embraced, and it was lovely. That bit didn't happen. It's clearly what he wants. I'm also not sure how anybody can promise that. Was he going to watch him 24 hours, 7 days a week? So it's also a little bit like a pyramid scheme. Don't sign up for pyramid schemes. We then had the match between these guys and SCU, and this narrative is another one that's just great. Nobody's rushing it, we're taking our time. I don't know whether I do want Colt to join the Dark Order if it's a huge mistake. And SCU, we know how good they are, is getting it up. And it all tied in here too. Obviously Cabana was struggling because of this massive injury, and Brody Lee didn't really like that on the ringside apron because he saw it a weakness, and he also had this cool visual because Evil Uno and a bunch of the minions were stood at the top of the rampway watching on, and that clearly caused distractions. Scorpio Sky especially was like, oh man, they're all there, what am I gonna do? Stu Grayson, who was teaming with Brody Lee and Colt Cabana, got loads in here as well, and he looked great, so that's another rising star we've got. And as soon as Kazarian did get the hot tag from Scorpio Sky, he just ran wild. Like I say, these guys, they're just so good. They've been doing it for ages. They know what they're doing. Christopher Daniels thought he had the match won after one of his brilliant moonsaults onto Grayson, but guess who was there to make the save? That's right, it was Colt Cabana. And when Lee saw all of this, he got back in the ring, he smashed Daniels with that discus lariat and then told Stu Grayson, no. You go and tag in Colt Cabana, then do his podcast. Again, he didn't say that. Colt got in the ring. He got the victory. He hasn't lost ever since he did kind of make this handshake deal with the Dark Order, and he was just so happy. This is good stuff. Then all this joy carried on because Big Swole decided, hey, there needs to be some fallout from what happened to me earlier, so she went to confront Britt Baker. And what she did was, she got those legal papers from earlier, she screwed them up, she chucked them at Baker's face, and Britt sold this as if she'd just been punched by Brock Lesnar. This honestly is the best character change. It gets better every single week. It was main event time now, which of course you can figure out was Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho, and I can sum it up thusly. When I sat down to make all of my notes and decide what was going to get an up and what was going to get a down, I only give one golden up out because I feel like you have to earn it, and I was like, do I give it to the Bucks match or do I give it to this? And I tell you, it was a damn close call, but still, it's an up. Cassidy just went nuts at first, which you never see, but that also tied into his character and let you know, look, sometimes he is lazy, but if you do piss him off, he ain't gonna be laid back, he's gonna come at you. And he also took Chris Jericho and threw him into the barricade, and that freaked everybody out because Chris Jericho hurt his Judas effect throwing elbow. Ruh-roh. Using all of experience, Chris Jericho was able to get back in control, but AEW even kept it super simple here. Because while Orange Cassidy had come out with the best friends but then shooed them away, Chris Jericho had come out with the inner circle, but they hang around at ringside because one's a good guy and one's a bad guy, and this particularly worked for La Champion because Santana and Ortiz hit Orange Cassidy with that mad ball, or as I like to call it, the loaded sock. Because it is a loaded sock. Realizing he was in trouble, Cassidy started smashing out the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, but Chris is too smart for that. He does have too much experience, and he was able to kick out, and this just built so well to a crescendo when many a time I thought, oh my flub, they're actually gonna have Orange Cassidy win. I was wrong, but still. And that was the whole idea here too. You were meant to think that Jericho was having his way, but then Cassidy would just squeeze his orange juice and he'd get like a flurry of attacks that always had you second guessing. We also went out of our way here to underline that Orange Cassidy is one tough SOB, because he had orange juice thrown in his eyes by Santana Ortiz at one point, and that would hurt, and this distracted the referee, because of course it did, but when he turned around, Chris Jericho not only slammed him with a bat, but he hit the code breaker, and it looked like the most obvious finish ever, but it wasn't. Orange Cassidy kicked down. The only shame there was, if you had had fans and a crowd in attendance, they would have lost their damn minds. Cassidy even had more fight left in him and hit this tornado DDT, which again was like a 2.999999, and actually made me go, oh, he's done it. But he hadn't. He went for the Superman punch. He screwed up. He got hit with the Judas effect. Chris Jericho wins, but afterwards he looked like a dude that had been in a brutal war. Still though, this did nothing but add to the whole persona of Orange Cassidy and let you know he's not a joke, he can wrestle, and I'm gonna guess that was the idea that Chris Jericho came up with. This is brilliant. Not only does it get another round of applause, the whole show does. It was just great. All of Wednesday Night Wrestling was great, Keith Lee was great too, and overall, it's getting a damn up. Don't at me. And that's that, we're done, it's over. That was some of the best wrestling on both shows I've seen for ages. Now don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know I'm a bald asshole. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, then head over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles, follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE, and damn it, watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. It's time for me to lay down. It's time for me to get all my energy back because I've spent it all here ranting and raving like a fool. I'll see you soon.